Most people could walk through their backyard right now and step over several plants that previous generations would have recognized immediately. Not as weeds, not as unwanted growth, not as something to pull and throw away, as food, as something worth gathering, as something worth knowing. And that's the strange part. Many of the plants modern gardeners spend time removing were once welcomed, precisely because they appeared on their own. No planting, no special care, no effort. Just reliable growth when people needed it most. Which raises an interesting question. What if some of the most useful plants in your yard are the ones you keep removing? That idea sounds strange today, but for most of human history, people didn't have the luxury of ignoring plants that appeared on their own. A useful plant didn't need advertising. It didn't need a seed packet. It simply needed to show up when food was scarce. And again, the same plants kept appearing. The first one is probably growing in your yard right now. The plant people fight every spring. Dandelion. The moment those bright yellow flowers appear, many homeowners begin planning their attack. But previous generations often saw something completely different. Imagine seeing the first dandelions appear after a long winter, and instead of thinking, "I need to kill those," thinking, "Dinner has arrived." Even the roots were collected. That's a remarkable level of usefulness for a plant most people consider a nuisance. And almost everyone knows the experience. As children, we picked the flower. We blew the seeds head into the wind. Hundreds of tiny parachutes drift across the yard, and we were happy. To modern eyes, found a weed, spreading. A very different perspective. Not far away, another overlooked plant often grows quietly between vegetables. The vegetable many gardeners accidentally remove. Purslane. At first glance, it doesn't look particularly important. Low-growing, thick stems, small leaves, easy to overlook. And yet many gardeners spend years pulling a vegetable out of a vegetable garden without realizing it. That's what makes purslane so fascinating. It appears exactly where conditions are difficult. Hot weather, dry soil, harsh conditions that cause other plants to struggle. While other plants struggle, purslane almost seems to enjoy it. Almost as if it understands something about survival that more delicate plants never learned. And that pattern recurs throughout this story. Which brings us to a plant that previous generations often recognized instantly. The forgotten green. Lamb's quarters. There was a time when many people could identify this plant without hesitation. Today, countless gardeners remove it before ever learning its name. Yet it earned attention for one simple reason. It showed up reliably. Imagine walking through a summer garden decades ago. Someone points toward a patch of unfamiliar green leaves. People simply knew what they were looking at. That kind of recognition only develops when a plant becomes woven into everyday life. And for many families, lamb's quarters once held that place. But perhaps the most overlooked plant on this entire list is growing exactly where nobody thinks to look. The weed beneath your feet. Plantain, not the tropical fruit, the common backyard weed. You can find it growing beside pathways, between stepping stones, and along the edges of lawns. People walk over it every day without noticing. Yet throughout history, many communities knew exactly what it was. That's what makes plantain so remarkable. Not its appearance, its persistence. No matter how many times it gets stepped on, it keeps returning. No matter how difficult the location becomes, it adapts. And maybe that's why people valued it. Because reliability becomes memorable when life is unpredictable. At this point, a fascinating pattern begins to emerge. Many of the plants people relied on most share the same characteristics. They're resilient, self-seeding, drought-tolerant, persistent, almost as if nature selected them long before humans did. And perhaps that's no coincidence. After all, a survival plant that disappears when conditions become difficult isn't much of a survival plant. The ones people remembered were often the ones that refused to disappear. A perfect example appears during cooler seasons. The plant that arrives when little else does. Chickweed. Many gardeners first notice it during cooler weather, when other plants seem reluctant to grow. Soft leaves, low growth, a quiet presence, nothing flashy, nothing dramatic. And yet, it became familiar across generations because of its timing. When many plants were slowing down, chickweed often appeared. Sometimes the most valuable plants aren't the largest or most impressive. They're simply the ones that arrive when needed. That same idea helps explain another plant modern landscapes often overlook. The plant older landscapes welcomed. Clover. Today, many people spend money trying to remove clover from their lawns. Earlier generations often encouraged it. Something to eliminate, something that doesn't belong. But older landscapes often viewed it very differently. A patch of clover wasn't necessarily a problem. It was part of the system. You can still picture the scene. A warm afternoon. Bees moving from flower to flower. Small white blooms scattered across the grass. A landscape that felt alive, rather than perfectly controlled. What modern lawns reject, older landscapes often welcomed. And that difference says a lot about how our relationship with plants has changed. Our final plant carries perhaps the strongest sense of forgotten history. The survivor nobody advertised. Yarrow. Unlike many modern garden favorites, yarrow earned its reputation quietly. No marketing, no trends, no promises. Just centuries of practical use. Generation after generation continued noticing it, remembering it, keeping it around. And that's something worth paying attention to. Because plants don't remain part of human history for hundreds of years by accident, especially when those plants can survive drought, poor soil, and neglect. Which leads to one of the biggest mistakes people make when looking at weeds today. Assuming usefulness and popularity are the same thing. They're not. Many valuable plants disappeared from public memory long before they disappeared from the landscape. The knowledge faded. The plants didn't. They're still here, still growing, still appearing exactly where they've always appeared, waiting for someone to notice them again. And perhaps that's the most surprising part of this entire story. These plants didn't vanish. Dandelions still bloom. Purslane still spreads. Plantain still grows beside pathways. Yarrow still returns. The weeds stayed. What disappeared was the understanding of why people once paid attention to them. Because the most remarkable thing isn't that these plants helped people survive. It's that many of them never left. The weeds never disappeared. Only the knowledge did.